I said, ooh, this is really deep. I don't know. I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. This is more tragedy than I've ever dealt with. And she said, no, she said, you know what? I need this. This is going to be a part of my healing process. She said, because I haven't told anybody about this. We had to go to court. There was a trial. She goes, the trauma was the trauma. And then she said, I never allowed myself to process. And I said, ooh, well, that's what I do.
Okay. So that's deep. Number one, like she went through, said there was a trial. She had never told anybody. She needed to get
Yeah.
this out of her system. And with her showing up in the way that she did at the time that she did, the way that you guys met, she was able to release all the pent up stuff that was happening. So we talking about the power of journaling. So let's just get right into it, right? So what is journaling for the people out there that have pretty much no clue?
Absolutely. So if you think about the word journal, you think about journalism in college, you could have that as a major. And that's basically, Oprah Winfrey started out as a journalist with reporting the news. And now, she's a mega, global icon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But literally journaling is documenting events and experiences. It's documentation, it's writing things on paper, getting, the facts, the times, the places, the information, the experience, your thoughts and your feelings. And so for journaling as a personal technique, um, it is a process where you are literally, the first step is just writing down everything that's coming to your mind. So that's the personal definition. But just in general, as a society, journalists are responsible for reporting the news, telling us information because we weren't there. So they're giving us the facts, only the facts, right? They're giving us the who, the when, the where, the why, the how. They may not know the why and the how, but then that's where commentary comes in and the speculation comes in. But to journal something is to report it as it happened.
So report it as it happened. So when people are journaling, right? What are some things that can actually block them from just freely writing, freely journaling?
Oh, yeah. Stress, fear, overwhelm, overthinking, not wanting, just avoiding. A lot of people
Mhm.
know they need to journal, but they just don't. They say, I don't have time. So the excuses come up, but the real block, I'm glad you said block. The real block is just fear. You don't want to see what's going to come up.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's like having a conversation with someone and asking a question and you kind of know the answer and you don't want to hear it. It's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough. Fear is the block.
Okay. So we know that there are other ways for them to release and get things out of their systems, specifically the blocks, right? We know that there are other ways.
Yeah.
But why is journaling so powerful?
Oh, yeah. I have to tell you what happened yesterday. I didn't plan to tell you this, but it's divine timing.
Love it.
When you tell the universe you're going to do something, things start coming. So yesterday I had a client who left me a voice clip through Facebook Messenger. And she was so excited. She said, LT, you know what? I got to tell you this. She said, this happened to me yesterday. And I was like, ooh, okay. She said, was gonna I was just going to get up and hit the ground running and just go to work, right? She said, but I remember you told me 10 minutes a day, set the timer. She said, so I wanted to be true to myself. And I wanted to set aside that 10 minutes, like you told me to, every single day, to just let myself know that, hey, look, I'm taking care of you. And I was so happy that she said that because she was one of those I had to crack the whip. And I had to say, come on, girl, let me get my belt out because you need to be doing this every day. So she did it yesterday. And she said at the end of that 10 minutes, she had written more than she had ever written before. So it was multiple pages. And then she said she started crying uncontrollably. She could not stop crying. I was like, what? She said it was so many things, emotions. that bubbled up to the surface all at one time. And she said those emotions just came rushing like a when you're in the ocean and the waves just crash upon you. She said that's what happened. She was in tears. She could not stop crying. She didn't even know why she was crying. And she said, but afterwards she felt so refreshed. And I was like, girl, let them tears flow.
So we know that that was a release that was going on with her. And so is this something that happens often when people are journaling, which is the release, the crying uncontrollably? Because that might scare some people off with journaling. So
Yeah,
yeah, so can you speak to that?
that's not actually that story is not usual. That's not typical. That's not what they shared with me. That
Okay.
was really vulnerable for her to share that with me. And it's because I've been working with her for like 2 years now.
Makes sense.
So she knows me. So she trusts me enough to say that. Most people will say, oh, I wrote in my journal and I feel better. That's the first thing. I feel better. And I'm like, well, why do you feel better? I just feel like, I feel like I needed to get that off my chest because they may not have anybody that they could talk to that they trust.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And so when I was 12, I called my diary Monique.
Oh, she had a name.
She had a whole personality. I told her everything. I didn't tell nobody else nothing. I had all kinds of bad names. I called my mama in that diary. My mama found it and read it. I was like, she said, you called me this, you called. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. That was just, I was upset that day.
A
And I was
personal.
like, oh my gosh. And then, yeah, years later, I felt like, wait a minute. Why am I apologizing? That was my personal stuff. She should have been in there in a minute. Anyway, but I was a teenager, so I was like, felt terrible that I said those things. But it's a secret place.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it's a secret place where they can go in there and literally just let off any and everything that they need to, right? It's that junk that we get caught in our bodies, where a lot of people are carrying around their sickness and they don't
Yes.
realize why they're getting sick. And a lot of it is because they're holding on to stuff, the experiences, the trauma, the things that are hindering them from moving forward. So I really love the fact that you owned it, but it was a little late, meaning with your mom. But
Yeah.
but at the same time, you're like, you know what? That was my own stuff. Like you
Yeah.
shouldn't have been in my own stuff,
No.
right? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but you still were able to release it. You didn't carry that stuff around, and that's the thing. When you get this stuff out of you,
Yep.
that's when you don't even think about it no more.
Nope.
It's when we hold the stuff in and then we start seething and seething and seething, and we're starting to write all of these stories in our head about what actually happened and why they did it and why they don't love me and why they rejected me or abandoned me and all this stuff. And so through journaling, it sounds like that is a way to help people to get all this stuff off. Moving forward, that leads into them healing themselves. Is that a correct assumption?
Absolutely. I love how you said sickness because when I tell people about the process, I'm like, you know what? Your body is holding the emotions, and that's turning into dis-ease.
Yes, 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 yes.
That's no
Okay,
good.
okay. So, are there different types of journaling? Is it one type?
Yes.
Is it different types? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah. So the first type is the general sense, like the news reporter. You just reporting what happened, who, when, where. That's the very basic, simple stuff. That's also called brain dump. And that's just you're taking all the head trash out and you're dumping it onto the page. And you start with just yesterday, if that's what you can remember, or you
Mhm.
start with last week, whatever it is that bugged you, that caused you to have an emotional response in a negative way, you document that. The first thing that I did when I went into therapy, I've been in therapy for 20 years. My therapist was like, okay, hold up. You're going through depression. You're having these anxiety attacks.
Mhm.
She's like, we need to get to the source. Have you been journaling? And I was like, no, I had stopped journaling for years. And she was like, stop right there. She was like, get a new journal, get a pen. You need to start documenting your triggers. That was my first assignment. And I was like, whoa. And I literally just started documenting triggers. So and so triggered me at work on this day at this time. Okay. My kid triggered me on this day at this time. My husband triggered me at this day. And it was nothing but a list of triggers. So that's all it is. You're documenting dates, times, events, and who was there. That's all it is. You're just reporting the news that's happening in your life.
Okay.
And then what you do is you go back. You hold on to that for months. And then you go back and you remember and you're like, oh, that, okay, how did I deal with that? How did I process that? Because like you said, once you process these things, you don't even think about it anymore.
Gone.
You don't think about it, but other people may bring stuff up. So you go get your journal, be like, hold up, wait a minute. I got my journal. You said that didn't happen on this day. Let me show you. This is what happened on this day, and this is who was in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's just the facts. That's all it is in the beginning. And people's journals can be subpoenaed in court. And so that's how deep it is, because it's just a document of what happened. Give me the facts. That's the beginning. There's no processing of those emotions. There's no emotions. It's just write it down.
Okay. Okay. Get it out.
That's it. Get it out.
And so I like when you talk specifically about the triggers, right? So for you, and then for other people that are listening, specifically the women, because we're going to focus on the Black women here, because we know that we have an event coming up, right? I'm going to plug it here,
Yes.
shamelessly plug right now, which our event is called Healing Black Women Through Journaling, which is why we're having this
Yeah.
conversation about the power of journaling today, because I have a couple things that's coming up, right?
Yes. Yes.
Do Black women journal?
We don't as much as we need to, we don't. Because I will tell you for myself, I took that superwoman cape from my mother. I inherited it, uh, wore it proudly, right? And tried to rescue and save everybody, which is, I think
Mm,
there's some social conditioning when it comes to Black women in particular. We are the protectors of our household. We are the protectors of our husbands, the protectors of our brothers, because we know what they're facing on the outside. So we protect them. We put a shield and a bubble around them, which is great. We put a hedge of prayer around them, which we should do. However, with looking outward to all these other people, we tend to neglect ourselves. And at the end of the day, at the end of the night, we're sitting there looking at each other, looking at ourselves in the mirror. We're looking, and we're like, wait a minute, I didn't do anything for me today.
mm, mhm, mhm.
And we say this, we say, well, I don't have time to be sitting down with no pen and no paper. I got work to do. I got bills. These kids need to be fed. It's a lot of distractions, but they're also excuses. They're
Mm,
excuses because I made them. And when I went to therapy, I think it was 2007 is when I started therapy. My therapist said, you need to sit down and think about what it is that's bugging you. She said, otherwise it's just going to keep bugging you. And I was like, oh, I still was in denial for like a couple of months. And then I kept dealing with the same old dis-ease, dysfunction, sickness, headaches, all these different things. And I'm like, wait, let me just see what she's talking about. Let me just try this.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so journaling and relationships, right? Our event that's coming up is Healing Black Women Through Journaling, right? So how will journaling specifically help the Black women that's going to attend our event and their relationships? Let's tie that together.
Oh, I have a journaling activity I call the love letter. It's powerful. You write this in your journal, and then you could take it out and mail it, or take it out and deliver it, or you could just leave it there.
Okay.
So there's the love letter to yourself, where you talk about, what you love about yourself and what you want to be, right?
Okay.
The person you want to become. And then there's the love letter, which is not really a love letter, but it's to somebody that has pissed you off.
Mm.
I've done 3 of these in my life. And it's
Mhm.
like I think of that song by Aaliyah, you know, that about the love letter. I'm
Oh,
sending you a 4-page letter and I sealed it with a kiss. Oh my, I was having an issue with my father-in-law and I was upset. And I wrote him a 4-page love letter and I let him know these are the things that you have said. And I quoted him. These are the things that you have done. These are the things that this is not appropriate for
mm.
you to be saying as an older person because you think you get a pass. Now, I was grown. I respect my elders. So there's no way I would have done this when I was a teenager. I was grown. I was already in my 30s, had my kids, you know, had my husband, house, and everything. But there were some things that he said that hurt my feelings and some things that he did, which was disrespectful, which I felt like they need to be addressed. But I didn't want to go, hey, this is what I need to, I didn't want to be disrespectful. Right? I don't want to do all of that
Yeah.
with the finger
Head
point.
on.
I wouldn't try to do that. I said, no, this is somebody I deeply care about, you know, father figure to me,
Mhm.
because I didn't have a father growing up. So father figure. So I wrote it to him and we had a family meeting. It was really funny. It just so happened I gave him the letter and I said, I'm gonna leave the room and let you read this letter.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
said, it's a love letter and I wrote it with love, but it's some harsh words in here. And I prepared him and he said, oh, okay, I'll read it. He took it upstairs, closed the door, and he read it. And the grandkids was so nosy. They was like, what's in that letter? What's that? What's going on? So he read it and he invited us upstairs. And he has this huge king size bed for him and grandma. And we all sat on the bed. And he looked at it and he took certain quotes out of it. He said, well, I didn't know that what I said here bothered you. I said, yeah, because I've been holding it in.
Mm.
I don't want to be disrespectful because I love you and I respect you. And he was like, I am so sorry. He apologized. And then he said at the very end, he said, please don't keep me from seeing my grandkids,
Wow.
because that was the promise. It wasn't a threat.
Mhm.
That was the promise that I made at the end of the letter. I said, if your behavior don't change, you won't see your grandkids.
Well.
I couldn't have said that out loud. I had to write that. I wrote the first draft in my journal,
Mhm.
left it in there, and then I wrote the second draft on a piece of paper. And that's what I gave to him. And he was like, whoa.
But you know what? That's actually the thing, which is the person that's offending you has moved on with their life.
Yes.
They most of the time don't even remember the incident.
Nope.
But you as the receiver of the message of the toxic message,
Yeah.
hold on to all that stuff and you're not able to move forward. You're saying stuck. You might even keep attracting the same riffraff into your life. And you could take riffraff however you want to. Doesn't always have to
Yeah.
be a significant other. It's other stuff in your life.
Yeah.
And until you are able to articulate what's actually happening within you, and then like you're saying, just journal it out, whether you give it to the person or not. You need to find a way to release that stuff that is within your system, because there's a book out there entitled "The Body Keeps the Score."
Yes.
Your body is holding on to all of
Yeah.
that junk, all of that trauma. And when you look up and your life is literally, you're on a hamster wheel, you're going through
Yep.
the same thing over and over again. Now we have to do something different in order to get different results, right? Because to be
Yeah.
insane is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. The only way to get to the
Yeah.
different results is for you to do something different. So if
Yeah.
this is something that is so powerful for you, I journal. I probably pretty much do the facts as of right now. I don't have a whole
Yeah.
lot that I need to release because I've done my releasing, right?
Yes.
However, I like that triggers one. I might have to do the triggers one. I never heard of that one. So, but I'm saying all of this
Yeah.
because specifically when it comes to our community and our sisters in our community. Journaling is
Yeah.
such a powerful tool to have in your tool belt instead of you punching somebody or
Oh,
lashing
yeah.
out or just reacting instead of
Yeah.
responding. We need to give
Yeah.
give ourselves time to calm down, get recentered, so now we can say stuff that's intelligent, have an
Yeah.
intelligent conversation, a meaningful conversation, so the connection can still be there without all of the disrespect and toxicity. Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah. I want to share one more story because you said connection. And this is I wrote a letter to one of my I'm not gonna say who it is, but I'm just gonna say it's a female family member
Okay.
that I love dearly. And we, when the kids were little, we would have the kids over, slumber party, whatever, whatever.
Perfect.
And now I remember when my kids were super little, I was afraid to leave them, even with family. I had all these different fears in my head about stuff. And there was no reason to believe that they weren't unsafe, but I had that. And I had to work through that and journal that. Okay. So this particular family member wanted to go out, me time, just to hang out, by herself, do whatever. I kept the kids and two little ones, not too little, yeah, 6 or 7, something like that.
Okay.
And they were cool. They were safe. They were used to coming to my house. And I felt so offended because she kept calling and asking to speak to the kids. And we're trying to play and have a good time and play games and hang out and do the pajama party thing because they were spending the night. And then something happened and she decided just not to let them spend the night. She came at 1 o'clock in the morning, picked them up, and I was like, what? What just happened? And so I don't really know what happened, but I know how it made me feel. And so as I was waiting for her to come back, because she called me at midnight and said, I'll be back at 1 because she was an hour away. I said, okay. I sat down at the table and I wrote a 4-page love letter. It just happened to be 4 pages. And I was like,
Once again, a 4 page.
once again, 4 pages. I was steaming. I was like, this hurt my feelings, the communication. I don't understand. I kept your kids before. Like, what is the deal? She had some other stuff going on, but the way it made me feel was a lack of trust. Like as though they weren't safe for some reason. And I don't know. I don't understand. Keep calling the kids. I'm the adult. What you calling the kids for? Either you trust me or you don't.
Mm,
Either you want them here or you don't.
mm,
And I understood. So I had compassion and empathy because I later on spoke to a cousin, and that cousin told me I did the same thing, only I wasn't calling the kid because the kid was too young. But I was just calling her
mm.
and asking her for a report, a documentation. What is she doing now? What was she eating? And it's like, you know what? You need to just work on your trust. And so that 4-page letter was to her to let her know how I felt. And she did come back and she apologized. And she did say, I didn't know I was making you feel like that. I apologize for the way I made you feel. And that's what it is, y'all. We have to be accountable for the way that, first of all, that we choose to feel.
Yes.
Because I chose to be offended by that. Right. And then she took responsibility for doing the thing that
Mm-hmm.
made me feel that way. And so that deepened our relationship. After I wrote that letter and she called me on the phone, we talked about it. We worked that stuff out.
I
And
love it.
now we like tight again. And it helped.
Well, let me ask you this, because as you were speaking, you've gotten apologies, and apologies don't
Ah,
usually happen,
no, I know.
or they don't happen as often. Let me say that, because some people
Yeah.
are still holding on to the thing. So I'm specifically talking about after you write this letter, right? After you write your letter
Yeah.
and you mail it or you give it to the person, hand it to them, they read it, it's not received well. So
Yeah.
it sounds like, at least both of the stories that you told, you've gotten apologies. So what about, and how can others handle when the apology doesn't come? Are they journaling it out, or should they be aware that this is not necessarily something that they should expect? Who was the apology for? Like,
Yeah,
talk to that a little bit more.
that's deep because a lot of times people don't take accountability. They don't remember it. Like you said, they think, oh, that was 10 years ago. Who cares?
They got
Why don't
over it.
you, yeah, why don't you move on? Like that's the little gaslighting thing. That's a whole separate topic. But it, what I've noticed is that I'm very descriptive in my writing. I'm very descriptive. My memory is good. I quote people verbatim. And
Okay.
so it's to the point where when I send someone a letter, they can't hide from it because they know it's the truth down in their soul. They can't hide. Like, yeah, I've written some things that have gotten people to resign from job positions
Oh, you a
because
writer. You a
I
writer.
I am a professional writer, so people don't mess with me. But it started with when I was 12, just observing, paying attention. And when people know that you're paying attention, they're like, "Ooh, I thought you forgot about." Ooh, you paint the picture, and they start. It takes them back in history. When you paint the picture, they're
Mm,
like, "Oh, I was there."
yeah. Yeah.
Whoops. Ooh. That's why journaling is so important. That's why journalism is so important because before we had television, internet, there was just people reporting, verbally. And then we got into the literacy part, the writing. And so, yeah, I've gotten apologies. I've gotten a lot of apologies, fortunately. And I've learned that most people don't get apologies, but it's because you're not precise in your description and your language.
Mm.
That's why you need to have a journal because you're not going to remember what happened.
You answered my question. That was totally going to be my next question. About the description and how detailed it needs to be when you are journaling. And so, okay, I want to, because we're getting ready
Yeah.
to wrap up, and I want to specifically tie everything together. So, our event is coming up July 24th through the 26th. It is called Healing
Yes.
Black Women Through Journaling. Me and this beautiful coach are going to be there, and we want you to register if this sounds like something that you can start your healing journey from, if you haven't,
Yes.
or if you've been a part of journaling, right, but you want more structure to your journaling,
Yeah.
how it can actually affect as well as change the trajectory of your relationship around. I want you to register. It is bit.ly/ come get healed. Again, that's bit.ly/ come get healed. So before we wrap it up, coach, I would like to ask you, well, before I ask you, tell everybody where they can reach out to you, work with you, just put your information out there so
Yeah.
those who want to contact you outside of this interview can.
Please Google me. Please just put Latasha Jimerson.
Google me.
You could also go to the website that's up here, myfirstbook.org, because I do so many things, but this is actually my favorite thing because when people come to me and they have a memoir, the my specialty is memoirs. Because
Okay.
guess what? When I wrote my memoir, it was based on my journals.
Okay.
I couldn't have written my memoirs without my journal because I didn't remember some of the stuff, right? And so people come to me, they're like, I'm ready to write my memoir. And I'm like, okay, where do you have a journal? And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need to teach you some journaling. Before
Mm.
you even, we can't get to no book until you get your journal done because you're gonna vomit on people.
Ooh,
I
that's
don't
strong
want you,
language.
I don't want you vomiting on people. I don't want you giving people all of your emotions because you get stuck in the emotion. You know, they say in your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You could be in your feelings. You write a book, you put that out, you're damaging people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Don't just write something and just throw it out. No, you need to journal. You need to process. Then you get ready to do your manuscript.
Okay.
So the journaling is completely separate from the book writing process. It has to happen first, and it's a daily habit. It's a
Yeah.
daily habit. So anybody who wants to get more information about me, you can literally Google Latasha Jimerson, or you can go to YouTube and you can type in your first book, right? Type that in, and my whole YouTube channel will pop up. You go to Facebook and you can type in your first book. I have a whole Facebook community based on your first book. The first book is the main book because it gets you to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what taught me about me is when I wrote my first book, my memoir, it taught me who I am as a soul, right? Who am I separate from being a mom and a wife and this and that and a
Yeah.
teacher and a
Yeah.
coach?
Yes.
It's who am I as a human? Who am I as a soul? That's what the journaling is for. That's what my memoir did for me. And so I love working with people who are just doing their first book, because that once you do that, you're good.
I'm very happy that you made it easy for me to segue because I talk to my audience about loving themselves first. How can you show up and exhibit love or receive love when you don't
Yeah,
know how to love you? So that
yeah,
working on yourself first piece
yes,
is so important. So learning about who you are, why you're showing up the way that you are showing up, why you're reacting versus responding, like all of that is so
yeah,
important before we jump into these relationships. But the information wasn't out there and as accessible as it is today. So we worked with what we could work with, but now we're
yes.
rewriting our future daily, literally
Amen.
through the power of just getting it out, pen to paper. One last question. It's a twofer.
Yeah.
Why pen and paper versus digital?
Oh, I love it.
And then last final question is why would you insist? Because I'm going to say insist. The sisters sign up for our event, register for our event, Healing Black Women Through Journaling. So let's go with the first one. Pen
Yes.
and paper versus digital.
Oh,
Why?
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I'm a history English teacher. I taught history and English for I taught English for 2 years, taught history for about 18 years. So throughout that entire education piece, I had my students always writing. Even in the history class, they hated it because they were like, man, this ain't English. Why are you making me write so much? And then when I taught English, man, this ain't college. Why are you making me write so much? And it was like you could tell which students were writing a lot because they would come up and they would have to do a presentation. And I would always have public speaking as a part of my any class that I was teaching,
Okay.
history, government, whatever. You got to stand up and speak what you know. And you can't really know anything until you've read it and you've written about it. And you have to interact. So there's something, and anybody who has a science background, y'all can help me out with this because I don't have a science background, but there is a mind body connection when your pen touches the paper. It puts you, it's a grounding exercise. It puts you in a state where you cannot be anywhere else. You have to be present.
Mhm, mhm.
You can't journal and be on your phone. You can't journal and have a conversation. You can't journal and be working out at the gym at the same time. No, this is a mind body. Can you imagine that? Try to
No,
journal and you on a treadmill.
I cannot.
You're on a treadmill. You can't multitask this. This forces you to get into your soul. And you gotta listen to the things that are bubbling up and you gotta write that stuff down. And so there's something that happens. I don't know exactly the scientific terms, but there's a mind body connection. And I consider it to be the ultimate form of mindfulness because you're grounded.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, okay. So put away those digital devices, the phone in
Yep.
particular, because most of us have it all the time,
Yep.
and get you some quiet time. And we didn't say you got to journal all day. This is a few minutes of your
Yep.
life to just
So,
get this stuff out of your system. being very intentional, showing up for yourself, loving on you, finding out why you why you show up the way that you show up. So, okay, thank you for that. So, pen and paper is the thing, it is not
Yeah.
digital. The final question that I have for you, coach, is what are the benefits and or why should
Yeah.
sisters in particular sign up for our event that's coming up July 24th through the 26th, Healing Black Women Through Relationships, or excuse me, Healing Black Women's Relationships Through Journaling.
Ooh, sisters, sisters, I gotta say this. You know, Africa is the cradle of mankind. You know, the first human that walked the earth was a Black woman. We have evidence. There's all kinds of data that shows that the Black woman is at the forefront of humanity. Okay, we have a tremendous responsibility. We are the leaders. We are the matriarchs. We are the women who were the pillars of society. You know, we are ahead of pop culture right now. I don't know if y'all know, but Black women are winning. We've got so many big names ahead of us. Rihanna, billionaire. Oprah Winfrey, billionaire, right? The list goes on. Kamala Harris, vice president. Look at what we have done as a society of women. We've advanced the culture. So we have to also change the narrative of relationships. We have to push our standards up higher, right? We have to make sure that we are coming with our best self so that we can partner up with the man who is his best self and we can build, because that's what we are. We're builders. And our men are leaders.
Yeah.
They may not act like it, but they are natural leaders. They are hunters. And they want to provide. They want to be in their masculine energy, and they want us to be in our feminine energy. But we know that that has become flip-flopped, and we know that we have become mismatched and entangled in all these little situationships. And I know I've been in some situationships.
Let's give it
Yeah,
all the way real.
I mean, come on now, and they don't make you feel good about yourself at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You walk away feeling depleted and used and abused, but you're holding on.
Yeah.
Because you like, if something is better than nothing, you know. So we have to change the narrative, and we have to create a new normal. And the way that we're going to do it is collectively as women. We're going to raise the consciousness on this planet when it comes to relationships. We're going to put ourselves in a position to be in the best possible romance, right? Because the romance impacts your finance too.
Yes.
We go we're going to put ourselves in the best possible position and build some solid foundations for our children to copy, right? We want our children to look at us as role models and mentors, and we want them to actually have more than what we have. We want their relationships to be just phenomenal, right? We want them to look at us and say, oh, that's how mom operates. That's how dad operates. Oh, that's just normal. We do healthy here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is important for Black women because we're at the forefront of everything, all of it. And we have to start thinking of ourselves that way. Black is beautiful. Black has been beautiful since the Bible, right? Black has been beautiful. But people in the rest of the world finally realize and agree that Black is beautiful, right? Like Black women are beautiful. And people see that now because we're allowed to shine now.
Hello.
So we have to make sure, hello. We have to make sure we doing the thing. We are the Proverbs 31 women. We're doing it. So that's why we are doing this, because we want to serve you ladies, and we want you ladies to serve other ladies, and we want the ripple effect to just go everywhere. It's not just a US thing, y'all. We global too.
Right. Well, listen, y'all heard it here first. Y'all heard it here first. Me and Coach are coming together July 24th through the 26th to have this event to, again, start you on your healing journey if you have yet to start, to continue to go deeper if you have started but fell off, like Coach was saying that she has in the
Yes.
past, and or to get another tool that's going to help you to create your extraordinary life and your
Yes.
extraordinary relationship. So go ahead and register. Again, it is
Yes.
bit.ly/, come get healed, in order to register for our event, Healing Black Women. I keep saying it wrong. Healing Black Women Relationships through
Yes.
journaling. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do
Yes.
about it. And guess what? We are out. We are out.
I gotta give you a plug, coach.
Let's
I
do
gotta
it.
give you a plug, coach. I just want to say to everyone in the group, ladies, you have a phenomenal, fearless leader right here.
Ooh, keep going. Don't stop there.
I want to pour this on you because I haven't really had a chance. We've been busy. But y'all, ladies, you have a fearless, phenomenal woman in front of you. She is an amazing leader. And I've collaborated with a lot of different influencers, and she is the most structured and organized person that I have worked with in a since my teaching days back in the day when I was department chair. Certain ones was organized, but you are the most organized entrepreneur, the most fearless leader, and and flexible at the same time. That's why we vibe, because you flexible. You're like, yeah, let's move, let's bob and weave, let's get this done. But you're like, it's gonna be decent and in order.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you nailed it.
So, ladies, y'all gonna, man, this experience that you're gonna have with us is gonna be phenomenal because Coach Marshaun is making sure that this learning experience is decent and in order, and it's going to be transformative and explosive for whatever y'all doing right now. You about to take it to a whole nother level. Whatever you doing right now, because you're already great. Coach Marshaun is going to take you from here all the way up because that's what she does.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Hunty. Y'all heard it here from Coach LT. I'm super excited. So, again, without further ado, go ahead and register for our event July 24th through the 26th. Healing Black women's relationships through journaling. It is something, it's going to be phenomenal, as Coach LT just mentioned. And so, we're going to say goodbye for now, and we will see you very soon. All right, y'all. Goodbye.
You got it, girl. Oop.
I mean, we should be fine. I did. I just want to make sure. Let me just see. Did it say? Okay, girl. And we said, what did we say? Like a half an hour? We did went 43 minutes.
Hey,
It was flowing. It
it
was
was
flowing. So
good.
let me turn this off. Okay. Let me see here. Did anybody else say anything? Okay, so we had 14. Well, this is my personal page. 14 views, or I don't know, maybe it's telling me total. I don't know. And then I shared it with two people. Tina was actually watching for a few minutes.
Hey, go
She
Tina.
said
Go
hello. I
Tina.
got the, oh, I can stop this recording.